Hi everyone, I'm Suzy and welcome to This Adulting Thing. Welcome back to my channel. It is another really warm day in the United Kingdom, so I am baking while I record this. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about one of my current favourite shows on Netflix, which is Bridgerton. If you haven't seen Bridgerton, it's essentially a Regency era sort of romantic drama about this family with the surname Bridgerton and all of the sort of romantic entanglements that the children of the Bridgerton family come across. I've watched it since season 1 and I have always really enjoyed Bridgerton. I think it's just the characters, it's the costumes, the music, it just feels so romantic and it feels like an era that you would have just loved to live in. But obviously this is kind of like really old England, so it probably wasn't all that glamorous. There would have been a lot of grim things, like the plague, for example. There would have been a lot of other things going on, but Bridgerton sort of shows you the fairy tale idea of Regency era England, I suppose. In Bridgerton, the characters always seem to get their happy ever after. They always end up getting with the person that they love and getting married and living the best life. And that is something as adults that we really seem to crave and seem to really want in a TV series these days. And it makes sense because it kind of gives you hope for your own life as well. You want to see things work out. You want to see people be happy and get the life that they dreamed of. And in a way, it kind of makes you think, well, if it can happen to them, it can happen to me. So it gives you hope as well. It gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling inside. I like to read a lot of novels, and sometimes I think, oh, I should really branch out and read more, maybe some thrillers or some biographies. And I have read those sort of books before, but I've also read a lot of romantic novels. And I think, especially when I was single, I just really enjoyed reading those sort of books. They really made me happy and they made me think, oh, true love does exist. And we've all been brought up on that notion anyway. If you think, even when you were a kid and you were watching Disney movies, everything always worked out in the Disney movie. The princess always found the prince and they went off into the sunset and lived happily ever after. It was always the way that a classic Disney movie would end. And so it kind of sets somewhat unrealistic expectations for real life, because these Disney princesses didn't have to deal with the traumas of online dating. They didn't have to deal with all the ghosting or with divorces or things not working out, because you just knew that once the Disney princess found her prince, it was all going to be good. And it's the same with Bridgerton. You kind of know from the start of every season, I know how this is going to end. The guy and the girl are going to get together and everything's going to be great. But there is some reassurance in knowing that that's what's going to happen. It kind of makes it feel like whatever happens in between, everything's going to be fine. And as adults, we want that reassurance. We wanted it as children. We always used to think, is everything going to be okay? And our parents were always there to reassure us and tell us that things will be fine, everything will work out. And so as adults, that doesn't really change. You still want to know that things are going to be okay. If you make decisions, if you change jobs, if you take risks, if you start dating someone new, if you leave a relationship after 10 years, these are big things and you do want to know, is everything actually going to be okay? Is it going to work out for me in the end like it does for these characters? And that can be a good thing. There's no harm with some light-hearted romance, but sometimes it can potentially be delusional, because maybe you think, oh yeah, this is how it's all going to work out and we're all going to wear these pretty dresses and it'll be all sweet, and that's kind of not what real life is. But because that's not what real life is, that's why we look to shows like Bridgerton to get that hit, I suppose. Because it's reassuring. If everything's not okay in real life, well, at least it's okay for these characters. At least it feels like there can be hope. I always used to dream of my ideal happy ever after when I was at school, meeting someone maybe at uni, having like a childhood sweetheart, growing up together, having kids together, and just sailing off into the sunset for all eternity. And my life didn't turn out like that, but that's a really good thing, because what I want now has changed a lot from what I used to want. I used to want kids. I don't really want children now. It was nice for me to spend some time on my own in my 20s, exploring who I am and finding out more about myself, rather than just diving into a relationship and not really having the opportunity to do that. That's not to say you can't be in a relationship and still discover things about yourself, but for me personally, I needed that time to be on my own. And I'd love to think now, yes, I have my boyfriend, I've got my happy ever after, but you never know, nothing's ever guaranteed. Because in these Disney movies or in these shows like Bridgerton, there isn't really the same trauma that we have in real life. There isn't, for example, illnesses or money troubles or all of that stuff, because it's a sort of very glossy, rose tinted version of what life could be. But I love that and I'm here for that, because life can feel so stressful and there can feel like there's so many rubbish things going on. Sometimes you just need a bit of happiness. You need a bit of a happy ever after. You want to watch something or read something and just smile and enjoy it and think, oh, isn't that so cute? I love that for them. Like, you just want that. And that is one of the key reasons that I really love watching Bridgerton. It's the same with romantic comedies. One of my all-time favourite romantic comedies is Bridget Jones's Diary. And also the subsequent movies as well. There's another Bridget Jones being made, which I am just so excited for. But anyway, I am super, super in love with Bridget Jones as a character, because she feels a little bit more real. When we watch these romantic comedies, particularly American ones, it's often a very high-powered businesswoman. They're super skinny, they're super sleek, they've got amazing hair, they are powerful, single women, living the best lives. But Bridget Jones is very different to that. She is very British, she is very sort of down to earth, she's very clumsy. And you kind of really root for her more because she is more of the underdog. She isn't Sandra Bullock in The Proposal. She is very much this kind of girl who's just dreaming of finding Mr. Right, but then also kind of dealing with all the madness of being a single woman in her 30s in London. But it's the same thing. She gets a happy ever after. She finds Mark Darcy, and yes, they have sort of ups and downs. If you haven't seen the movies, you're missing out, but I won't give any spoilers. But I think you can probably guess that they end up together. And it's that same desire for us to see that happy ever after play out on screen. Even though there can be troubles in between, the right people will always find each other. And it gives us hope, it makes us optimistic. When I was single, Bridget Jones's Diary was like my go-to movie, because when I was looking for someone, but I was struggling to date or find someone who I wanted to be in a relationship with, watching that movie made me think, oh, but it's possible for her, so it could be possible for me too. We need that bit of positivity, we need that little ray of sunshine, and shows and movies like this really give us that. And for me, whenever I've felt down or whenever I've needed cheering up, like rom-coms and fun romantic TV series just always help me to do that. And that's the effect that Bridgerton has on a new generation, I suppose, because Bridget Jones is very much a millennial thing. It's not to say that other later generations haven't watched it, but when it came out, it was very much targeted at millennials. And now we have Bridgerton, which is targeted at still millennials, but also the younger generation as well. And having that kind of feel-good movie, feel-good series, it's what we need sometimes. But we crave the happy ever after on screen because it's not always possible in life. If we can't get it in life, at least we'll get it on screen. So if you haven't watched Bridgerton, I would thoroughly recommend it. It is a really, really good watch. Yes, it's predictable, and yes, it can be cheesy, and yes, there's a lot of romance, but if you want to just feel good, if you want to have some hope, if you want to see that happy ending play out that we just seem to crave as humans, then it is definitely, definitely a show that you will enjoy. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I may go and watch more Bridgerton, we shall see. But I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I will see you all very soon.